Monday.
Hey everybody, welcome. Oh my goodness, the music is rather loud. Hey, I'm Ross, and I'm going to be doing a read through today of Epyllion, and I'm really excited about it. This is the second part of my read through. I had a video yesterday where I read through the MC moves and the kind of MC side of things, and this week or today I'm going to be looking at the player side of things. So I'm going to be starting with the player, just going through the player handbooks or the playbooks, and yeah, should be good. So for those of you, if you haven't, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Apocalypse World engine upon which Epyllion is based off of, but everybody, we have the MC and we have the players, and the MC is kind of like a dungeon master or a GM in traditional role-playing games, except that rather than being kind of in charge of coming up with the whole adventure and having this kind of pre-planned adventure, the MC engages in this kind of Socratic dialogue with the players and asks lots of questions and builds on those answers, and that's what they use to get there. And the world just evolves out of that. I was pretty blown away the first time I played Apocalypse World. I remember seeing that you were, I remember reading that, just Vincent Baker, he actually swears at you. He says, "Don't fucking prep," He's like, "I'm not fucking kidding. Don't do this at all." So yeah, and so, but then, and it was just kind of surprising to me as like a GM. I was like, okay, well, how do you do that? How do you play a game and have it feel, as real as, having that module feels, and, with the map and all the numbered locations and everything. Yeah. And then, but it works. And so that's kind of the style anyway, that's the Apocalypse World engine is based off of, is based off of what Vincent Baker set out in Apocalypse World. And then since then, there's been a whole bunch of games since that, that are using some of those ideas that Vincent came up with and doing their own take on them. And I'm really excited about I love talking about Apocalypse World. I love talking about Apocalypse World hacks, and I'm really excited about Epyllion. It looks cool. I was excited about reading it yesterday. And you'll see in the showcase, which you should be able to see like over there or over there. Not sure which direction the camera has me going. But you should see a link to the Kickstarter page. If you pledge like $1 or more, you can gain access to these preview documents, which aren't the whole game, but if you've played Apocalypse World, they should be enough for you to, to make it to get going anyway. And so far, it seems to be the case. I'm excited to kind of read through this stuff today with you. So if you want to join in and talk with me, you're totally welcome to. There's also a spot where you can submit questions. So if you want to ask me questions, you can do that too. Okay. So without further ado, let's go through playbooks. Okay. So I'm experimenting with a little different setup here, so you can hopefully see me while I am reading the playbooks, because I think that's more interesting than just seeing a PDF. And then I can look at you and I can be like, "Hey, check this out." Okay, so yeah, let's go through the playbooks here. So this is the just kind of looking at the overall design of them. So this is designed to be. This is the first playbook. It is designed to be printed front and back. And so like this area over here on the right is the cover, and then this would be the back page. So this is actually like page 1, and then this is page 2, stats, page 3, and then the back is page 4. So yeah, so I'm always kind of interested just to see how different designers have decided to lay things out. And one thing that immediately draws my eye are the, it has this really lovely illustration here, and with the title and then the description. I have some other kind of playbooks, if just to sort of, I'll be sort of going back and forth between some of these other ones to other hacks of Apocalypse World, just to sort of show you what other people have done. So this is core Apocalypse World. And you'll see it's designed to be printed legal on a trifold. So this is page 1 over here, and then you open it up and you have, the inside, and then this is the back. And there's just a ton of information on it, which is cool. I kind of had forgotten how much information was packed into these playbooks until I started playing. I had been playing a lot of Monster Hearts for a while, which is definitely like more closer to what's going on with the Epyllion. You can see this is like the Epyllion layout, and then you have Monster Hearts, where it's just a super simple front page. You can see that Avery moved the intro to the front page, which makes a lot of sense. The intro is kind of like when you're choosing the playbook, you sort of get the information that you have. The first job of the playbook really should be to help guide the player towards a character that they're interested in playing. And the 3 main tools that you have as a designer to help guide them are the image, the name of the playbook, and then this little description. I just like to assume when I am designing for Apocalypse World, or where I'm designing in general, I want to have the experience of a brand new player be as smooth and as effortless as possible. I want it to be really easy for them to to sit down and start playing the game, and have the game present itself to them in these little bite-sized pieces. And the first time I sat down to play Apocalypse World with Avery, the author of Monster Hearts, she actually just laid out all of the playbooks. So you just kind of had that little portion on that little right-hand panel was the only thing that you could see. And, just imagining all these like really, gritty, stark images just caked with toner, and just laying out, and immediately your eyes really drawn to them, and you just want to start picking them up, which is exactly what you should be doing at this point in the game. So that's good design to me. I really like the starkness of this design. And then it's interesting because in Avery's own design, she decided to keep the image, but then try and make the front a little more useful. She opted to switch from this legal size layout to legal size to letter sized, which is more accessible. More people have. I had to go out and buy legal size paper to play Apocalypse World, which it's not the end of the world, but no pun intended. Sorry about that. But it is. This definitely makes the game more accessible. So, and a lot of Apocalypse World hacks have kind of adopted this format since then. So, you can see we have the image on the front, and then we have the intro, and then the first 3 choices that we make in the game, which are our name, our look, and in this case, our origin. In Apocalypse World, you can see over here we have this huge list here. There's name, look, gear, stats. It lays out all of the choices that you have to make. And what's cool about this style is that you'll notice that at this point we're not introducing any mechanics at all. So if you're a player and you've never played a game before, if you know how to read, you can interact with this first part of the playbook. And this really fits with just that principle of teaching the game in bite-sized pieces, or like as Avery puts it in Monster Hearts, teaching the game concentrically. So in these like kind of concentric circles, I think that's what she says. I'll have to look it up again. So yeah, okay, back to Epyllion. So Epyllion's adopted this format, legal size or letter sized paper. We got the intro, the name, the picture. This is kind of a nice touch. You've got the sweet opacity mask behind the little text boxes there. Okay, I'm just going to read this out here. So we have the academic. You work hard to learn as much as you can. Knowledge is power, and you fight to pursue and protect it. Sometimes it is hard to balance your passions for the past with living in the present, but you don't want to miss out on any adventures or friendships. After all, heroes you read about had to put down their parchment and get their scales dirty eventually. So this tells me that the academic is the person that I want to be if I'm really excited about interacting with the kind of lore, the arcane, that whole side of Epyllion. And I'd be curious to see if this is the case, but oftentimes in apocalypse world games, when you're the person that is sort of interacting with the lore and a lot of those sides of things, you also get to make up a lot of that stuff, and or at least have a really strong hand in it. You just by responding to the MC's questions. So, for instance, in Dungeon World, if you're the cleric, you actually get to make up a god, which is like so much fun. That's my favorite. One of my favorite things to do in any game is to create culture, and this deity that people worship, creating that, and then thinking about who those people are. I was playing a game with Sage, one of the authors of Dungeon World, at PAX. I think it was last year or 2 years ago, and I was a cleric, and I decided that my god was the Barley Lord. Oh, hey, how's it going, Sean? I'm broadcasting a thing here, but you can hang out and talk, and people might see you typing in the background, but I think it's fine. Okay. Yeah. This is my office mate, Sean. Wave, Sean. He's a video designer. He does video work. So anyway, so I created this character who was the lord of this place, was the Barley Lord, and then later Sage pulled it back in, and we came upon Barley Town. It's just fun. It's fun to be able to make up culture, and this I'm guessing, just not knowing anything, I haven't looked at any of the moves yet, but that's kind of what the academic is about, or I'm going to get to do some of that. Okay, and then we can see, we've got a name and a look, and the names Stars, Ludvig, Hachiro, Weneth. We've got some names to pick from and a look, so we get to decide what our horns, our snout, our feet, our hide, our tail, and our body look like. And these are all interesting options. This feels like a pretty long list, longer. It's definitely more sections than I'm used to in Apocalypse World games, which might not be a big deal. One of the things that when you're playing games like this as a one-shot, as an MC, I'm always really conscious of how long we're taking with the character setup. Ideally, we get through all of the character stuff and get to the place where I'm asking players questions about their characters within half an hour. And so if I was playing this game and I was noticing that was starting to take 45 minutes or an hour, I might start looking for ways to streamline things a bit. So we have like six categories. This is just a lot of information in this look section. They're all interesting, I wonder if it would be, with different playbooks, if it would feel more natural to, if you just picked 3 of these, if like 3 of them would be most interesting for each. Like the academic, maybe the academic's eyes are really important, or maybe the academic's hide is really important or something, whereas some other dragon, which is, maybe their wings are more important. Actually, wings aren't on here too. That's kind of interesting. When I think of dragons, I think of wings, and I think of breath weapons. That's just my Dungeons and Dragons brain damage. Yeah, what kind of breath weapon do I have? So anyway, I'm just spewing out some of my reactions to looking at this. Okay, and then coming down here, checking out the stats. So starting stats: Charm 0, Courage -1, Cunning +1. Add 1 to one of those. So the game streamlined the stats a little bit. In we've got 4 in Monster Hearts, and then I think there's 5 in Apocalypse World, the original Apocalypse World, and this one's just down to 3, which is nice. Don't use more than you need, for sure. And I'm definitely always looking for options to simplify things. Dungeon World, interestingly, goes the other direction where they have like 12 stats. There's like a full, there's like a +1 minus, you know, a -3 through +3 version of each of strength, dexterity, and charisma, and then there's a 3 through 18 version of it's kind of harkening back to Dungeons and Dragons, and it can be a little overwhelming, you know, sometimes for new players. But this one's going the other way. It's like saying, hey, charm, courage, cunning, that's what dragons are about. Okay, so, and I guess we write down in this little box here, which has that little dragon symbol. House, circle 1. Oh, there's no, another thing I'm noticing here, there's no stat highlighting. If you're familiar with Apocalypse World, a lot of times there are, you know, you highlight a stat, and then that's kind of a way for people to, it's tied into how you gain experience in the game. And, you know, some people like it, some people don't like it. There's some cool things about having stats highlighted, but it's definitely one of the systems that's been tweaked a lot from Apocalypse World, from hack to hack, I've noticed over time. So I'll be interested to see how that happens in this game. Okay. So house, we get to circle one of these houses, and Mindoth, House of Oak. And then it's got this little thing down here, which I'm not quite sure what it is. It could be obligation. I talked a little bit in the yesterday's video about obligations, and I was a little unclear if they were a mechanic in the game or not. I think this ties in, if I'm remembering correctly, this ties into the end of the game procedure. Where you might get experience or get to erase a point of darkness if you're fulfilling a house obligation. So I'm guessing this is what the obligation is. Let's see. Okay. So, circle 1 virtue, curiosity or honesty. Huh, that's cool. Man, honesty is really fun in role-playing games. I love it. I love having a character that just doesn't lie ever, and it's just both being that character and having that character in a game that I'm emceeing. It's just always such a fun thing to like just put someone in a situation where they're just cutting through all the funny political stuff. And curiosity seems like a good virtue for getting yourself into trouble. I'm curious how these get integrated. I apologize if there's some things I went over yesterday. I might just be forgetting them now. So it's possible that some of these questions that I'm bringing up I answered myself yesterday, but it's good for me just to kind of like see what sticks and then what I have to be reminding myself of. Okay, fellowships. At the beginning of the campaign, name a clutchmate, and I'm guessing a clutchmate means one of the other players. We must all be clutchmates. So and so guided your clutch when you were lost in the capital. Explain how they exemplified your virtue and give them a gem. Then we have so and so showed you the threat, the darkness posed by getting your snout, I almost said snot, out of a book. Give them a gem. And then fill in the blank, doesn't understand dragon history and the importance of the old ways. You will teach them all you can. Take a gem from them. So this must, I wonder what, give them a gem or take a gem from them. So we must all have gems, and we each have a gem that's like our color. It must be different colored. And sometimes you give people a gem, and sometimes you take one of their gems. There's a little formatting here. It says capitalized, give them a gem. This is not capitalized. No capital G there. Also, like, I kind of like bolding stuff like this. Like if it's almost like a move in the game. You know, this is a real specific mechanical action that we're taking. I'd like this to be set aside a little bit, just as for like a style, like just for formatting, just to make it really, really clear when that's happening. Otherwise, I can get a little lost in the prose. Okay, so this mechanic fellowship is templated off of bonds in Dungeon World. I should probably pull up. Let me pull up a Dungeon World playbooks so we can look at those too. Bonds are great. That is one of the really well-liked innovations from Dungeon World. And what's great about them is that they just give us these really clear. It's just I feel like it's a really streamlined version of HX where you just write down somebody's name and it makes up this little juicy bit of backstory, and off we go. Okay, I'll be able to do this. Find the PDF better if I'm not talking at the same time. So Dungeon World, and let's look up some playbooks. I've got all the old ones. Sure, Dungeon World character sheets. Here we go. Okay, so like I was saying, this is Fellowships is templated off of Bonds from Dungeon World. If you haven't played this game before, it is a old school interpretation of Apocalypse World. Super successful Kickstarter. Probably more well known than Apocalypse World, which is kind of weird, but it also, I mean, you know, a lot of people people are always looking for new versions of Dungeons and Dragons to play, so maybe not that weird. So over here we have Bonds. So this is not my first adventure with so-and-so. I sang stories of so-and-so long before I ever met them in person. So-and-so is often the butt of my jokes. I'm writing a ballad about the adventures of fill in the blank. So-and-so trusted me with a secret. So-and-so does not trust me, and for good reason. I love these bonds, like in particular. Each of them just feels great. They're all really exciting. I feel like each one of these here gives me something really interesting to riff off of, both as a player and as an MC. And in general, I feel that, you know, I've noticed that a lot with the bonds. It's, you know, so-and-so has insulted my deity. I do not trust them. So-and-so is a good and faithful person. I trust them implicitly. So-and-so's in constant danger. You know, all of this just, if you're ever like wondering what I should be saying or what I should be doing, just look at your bonds and just like do one of those things. And I think they also really point you in the direction of what's really fun in this kind of, you know, we're a party of fantasy adventurers genre. So yeah, bonds, love them. These ones are more complex, and I think they suffer a little bit for that. You know, guided your clutch when you're lost in the capital, explain how they exemplified your virtue. Also, one concern I have about these, I like the idea of all three of these. I think I would just like to see them be more simple. And there's two reasons for that. The first one is that that aspect of time, which I was sort of talking about, especially if you're sitting down at a con and you've got 2.5 hours or 3 hours and you want to play a game of Epyllion. It's you really want to get to start playing within half an hour, in my mind, like from the time that we all sit down at the table to, you know, when all of our character sheets are filled out and we're setting scenes. You know, I want about, like, I have a little mental clock in my mind that starts, and I want, after about 30 minutes, I want to be in the game. I want people to be smiling and laughing and talking to each other and joking and all that fun stuff that happens, you know, when we play story games. And so my first concern is that if I say, you know, that stars guided my clutch when I was lost in the capital, explain how they exemplified my virtue and give them a gem, it's a little bit of a heavy lift. At this point, I might not really know who your character is. I might not really know what you're excited about. And I'm making, and this is asking me to make up something about somebody else's character, and specifically about how their curiosity or how their honesty. And, you know, especially if I was doing all three of these, this is going to take 5-10 minutes per player easy. So in a 5, you know, that's like, I don't know, that's like 20 minutes or half an hour of just like going through the fellowship stuff. So that's one concern I have. The other one is that like these two. So I think the purpose of these should be to create the purpose of this kind of thing, like history and like bonds and what do they have? What's going on in Monster Hearts? In Monster Heart, and backstory in Monster Hearts. For me, the purpose of this is to start to get the characters to start to get the players to think about their relationships with other characters. And relationships are relationships have a and like how we relate to them. Like generally, when I'm relating to my parent, it's as a child, it might be like as a child, or if I'm relating to somebody that I trust, maybe it's there's a certain way I relate to them. If I'm relating to somebody that's betrayed me, there's a certain kind of relationship there. And what I love about these ones is that they give me a really clear idea of how I should be relating to somebody. Like so-and-so is often the butt of my jokes. Well, great. Whenever I am thinking of what to do, I'm just going to make fun of whoever this character is. I sang stories of somebody long before I ever met them in person. Yeah, that's so great. Just like establishing at the beginning of the game that like I idolize this person and I'm singing stories of them. And it maybe I start singing, making up new songs, as we're playing the game. This establishes this really clear, relationship, and it does so in a really evocative way, where you can interpret this in a lot of different ways. Whereas these fellowships they feel pretty specific, and they're asking me to make up a lot right now, and that's my kind of concern. Whereas, these you can just sort of leave them as they are and then address them through play. And that's really, I think, one of the secrets to playing a really solid 3-hour game of Apocalypse World is to address those questions like through play and to not do too much of that during character generation. If you address it through play and you kind of do it slowly, and this also goes back to taking notes. You have to take really good notes as an MC in order to be able to do that. Like all those questions, all those bonds that people write down, you need to take note of it and make sure that you hit it. That you hit it at some point when you're playing. Otherwise, that stuff will just get lost. So I like the idea of the fellowships. These ideas are cool. I like the idea of the fact that our characters might have some history together. It gives us a chance to start establishing some things about the darkness, establishing some things about, dragon history. And this gets the gem economy started too, which is an important part of the mechanics of the game. I want to talk about gems for a little bit. I'm intrigued by them. I'm excited about the idea of having some kind of real visible signifier of those relationships and those connections that we have between people on the table. One thing about strings and Monster Hearts is that it can be people forget them sometimes, especially if they're not seasoned players. And so here we write down the names of all the other players and then how many strings we have on them, or NPCs. You can get strings on NPCs as well. And if that's just sitting on your character sheet, other people aren't gonna like really remember necessarily just by looking at you. They can't really see your character sheet so well. Whereas these the gems are really, really visible. I think that's cool. Yeah, so excited to see how that plays out. Okay, and then wounds start with 2 wounds. As you get older, your wound threshold increases by 1, with a maximum of 5 reached when you become a bearded dragon. So this is hit points in the game. Interesting thing to just be reminded of: when you suffer all of your wounds, you come back with a scar. So the game kind of, you don't really die in this game. Your character always comes back. Okay, so those are the crunchy bits, and let's look at the academic moves. Field of expertise. You've read one of the great tomes of dragon knowledge. Mark which one you've read. Dragon's History of the War with Darkness. Oh, Dagon's History of the War with Darkness. Lung Quan's Famous Dragons and What They Did. Famous Moments in Dragon History, Guide to the Creatures of Dragonia, Geographical Primer on Dragonia's Rivers, Mountains, and Major Islands. So when you consult, okay, so you pick one of these things, and then when you consult your tomes for information, tell the DM what you find and roll plus tomes consulted. On a 10 plus, the information is accurate and complete. Take +1/4 to act on the answer. 7 through 9, something is missing or mythic, useful, but not every. Something is missing or mythic, useful, but not everything you need. I get what this means, but I think that I'm a little confused by the sentence. Just so it's, you know, on a 10 plus, you're correct. On a 7 through 9, your information is lacking somehow. On a miss, you got something terribly wrong. The DM will let you know and tell you what you need to know. So just kind of minor quibble. This text is using no twice in the same sentence, which is probably should be edited a little bit. Signature move advancement. Mark a new tome of knowledge. Tell the DM which dragon gave you the new source of wisdom. Okay, so yes, this is great. I was kind of guessing what this character was going to be about just by reading this stuff, and yes, the designer saying, yes, you were correct. How clever. This is actually what the character is about. So that's always nice. You're definitely going to get to make up a lot of, the academic is the person to be if you are excited about making up a bunch of stuff about Dragonia. I think this is really smart to have the tome way of, you know, to having sort of limiting your field of expertise. That way, you know, you really have to kind of focus on one thing that you know a lot about, and one thing, it allows the player to really hone in on something they're excited about. Yeah, this is cool. This is an exciting move. I'm always bummed out when I look at a character sheet or a playbook and I'm not really excited about any of the moves, or maybe I'm just only like 1 or 2 of them. But so yeah, the automatic move for the academic seems really cool. Let me talk about this template a little bit. This is a common Apocalypse World template where, you know, it's basically this is basically the Act Under Fire template. Where on a 10 plus, so like you're trying to do something, on a 10 plus you just do it, and so it's kind of like a check. This is the Apocalypse World Engine's version of rolling to hit. So on a 10 plus, you do what you want to do. On a 7 through 9, you know, and that's great, because this can be really easy, because on a 10 plus, you're just like, you nailed it, and you can kind of maybe lead forward with the narration a little bit. And the reason it works to not really be, to just sort of say like, okay, you got it, good job, is that with this kind of move, the players already has something. They already have a lot of interest in doing something. And so, and the mechanics kind of interrupting us a little bit, and they're like, okay, you got it. And it's usually not too hard to continue forward from that point. The challenge with Act Under Fire is the 7 through 9, which now we kind of have to make up something. And, you know, the typical, you know, Act Under Fire move doesn't give you a lot of support for that. It's like the GM has to offer you the GM has to offer you like a worse result somehow. And now as the GM, I have to think of that. I have to figure out what that's going to be. And sometimes you have something and it's really great. But for new MCs, that can be a little challenging. And sometimes I wish that there was a little more support for 7 through 9 results. But you also don't want every single one of your moves to have this kind of like list template. So yeah, I'd be excited to try this out and see, you know, if I feel like if I find myself really wanting a list here instead of just you know, something's missing or mythic, or, you know, don't have everything that I need. I'm not sure what that list would be. It might just be like something is missing, you know, or like I get to choose one, or the MC chooses one. I'm also not clear if the MC or the player is supposed to do this. Typically the MC would do that, but, you know, maybe the player, like, it wouldn't be much of a partial if the player got to choose, you know, from something as open-ended as that. Okay, cool. So field of expertise. Let's check out, okay, and choose one more. So these are the extra ones. So old debts. When you stand up to an old dragon by reminding them of debts and obligations long forgotten, roll plus cunning instead of plus courage. Okay, so that's really interesting. So this is almost like this is kind of cool because it's, as the academic, you get to leverage your knowledge. You get to, again, giving the academic is, if you just want to like make up a bunch of sweet dragon stuff, be the academic. So this is allowing us to do that. Cool. I like that move. An ear for the arcane. When you listen closely to a magic ritual, roll plus cunning. On a 10 plus, ask 2. On a 7 through 9, ask 1. Take 1 forward when acting on the answers. On a miss, you are ensnared by the ritual. The DM will tell you how. And then the questions we have are, what effects does it have? Who is the intended target? How could I reproduce this ritual? How can I disrupt it? Yeah, this is interesting. So, I guess okay. So the magic, so this is cool. I like this move. My concern, that the thing that just the question that comes to my mind are, how often is this going to come up in play? Are there lots of magic rituals? Well, if you remember, two of the basic moves involve doing magic. So we have the the magic of the moon and the magic of the darkness, and I'm wondering if those qualify. If those qualify, this seems like a really, that's one of the basic moves. So it's obviously going to come up a lot in play. There's a lot of mechanical support driving us towards making magic. We have this whole gem economy, where that's the main thing you use gems for. So yeah, this is interesting. I guess the questions are, if that's the case, if this is supposed to interact with the basic move, some of these things are, I don't know if as the academic this is giving me power, like new powers, because like, I don't know, a lot of this I would just assume, if I was emceeing this game and someone was using the basic move to like cast some spell, and I would really assume that as another dragon who's there, I would already know what effect it's having, especially because the player just sort of said what they're doing, and then who the intended target is. How could I reproduce this ritual? Well, just roll your basic move. You've got it too. How can I disrupt it? That's that one scene. So this is all assuming that Ear for the Arcane is supposed to interact with the two basic moves that involve casting magic. That might not be the case. I might just be not interpreting the game correctly. So of these questions, the one that's really exciting to me is how can I disrupt it? And then it just would be really interesting if like you sort of got to, if these questions were a little loaded and got you to kind of work other things into the fiction about this magical ritual that another dragon's trying to do. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to whoa, my goodness. So yeah, if you're interested, you can post some questions over here on the right. So you're totally welcome to do that. Let's see. Sorry, I'll edit this part out later. Boop. Okay, so let's look at peer review. When you go to your friends for advice into a specific problem, give them a gem and hear what they have to say. If you follow their advice, take +1 ongoing to see it through and tell them to mark experience. If you ignore their advice, take a shadow point. So yeah. So yeah, this is just kind of encouraging you to interact with the other players. I guess it interacts with the gem economy. And this leads to either getting a shadow point or experience. That's kind of interesting. So don't ask people questions unless you really want to follow through with their advice. Okay, and then let's see, familiar with the old ways. When you study a bearded or elder dragon, add these questions to the move study another dragon. What is whispered about you within your house? How are you vulnerable to the darkness? Who in Dragonia opposes your goals and machinations? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, these moves all seem interesting to me. I'm excited about all of them. That's great. You know, I think it's really important that you give players multiple interesting choices. There's definitely a couple playbooks. You know, like I don't know, the fighter, or is it the paladin? I've definitely seen some of the like there's some Dungeon World playbooks and some Monster Hearts playbooks where there's just like one move you're gonna want, and the rest of them just feel really boring. Actually, I think did you just get all of these? Yeah, you just get all these. I wonder. I can't actually remember if you're supposed to pick. You know, these are just all starting ones. Yeah. So in Dungeon World, yeah, you just start with the moves and then you select moves as you advance. But you know, some characters like you know, the paladin. You know, you have the quest is something that happens at the beginning of the game. If you're playing a one shot, you just end up, this sort of results in you you know, getting a couple of these bonuses throughout the session generally, and you're having some vow that you have to deal with. And then yeah, the I am the law generally results in people attacking you every time you use it, or them having like a penalty. And then the laying on hands, you know, is something that you can heal. So you know, these are all very mechanical, except for you know, and I think it's fine to have some mechanical moves, but you know, I'm just not always super drawn to them because I want stuff that's really going to encourage me to play my character in interesting ways, and going to encourage me to, you know, this really going to drive play. Like you know, I like the hard holders moves are really interesting. Like the leadership, it's this thing that triggers whenever your gang fights for you. You know, and wealth, this is something that triggers at the beginning of the session. And I've seen like one wealth move completely shape the entire session. That's just, okay, now this is what we're talking about, the fact that we're running low on water and everybody's super thirsty. Oops. Okay, so let's get back to talking about Epyllion. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the academic. I'm going to go through the other ones, and I'll spend a little less time. Oh wait, I didn't do after. Let's look at the back. Forgot the back sheet. Okay, so still in the academic, looking at the back sheet. So shadow track. The shadow track represents how much hold the darkness has on your dragon. Anger, lash out on a friend. Shame, seek isolation. Doubt, take a destructive action. Fear, exaggerate the danger of the situation. You can mark shadow in any order. When you mark a shadow, you must take the action associated with the shadow. When you mark the last shadow, you lose yourself to darkness and become your shadow self. When you are lost to the darkness, do not mark any further shadows, even if a move asks you to do so. Shadow self. You've held your tongue for too long. You have the best plans to move your clutch forward, and no one knows the history of Dragonia better than you. You are the academic. Return from your shadow self when a friend convinces you to admit that you don't have all the answers. Cool. So this is great. I like it a lot. This is the shadow self is templated off of your darkest self in Monster Hearts, and Yeah, I like that. To me, this is just it's basically a more interesting version of hit points, and it raises the question for me if the game needs both. If it needs both the shadow track and wounds, maybe the shadow track could just be your wound track too. And when if you get injured, that causes you to lash out in anger or doubt yourself, like physical injury, like maybe there doesn't especially since you don't really die in the game, you just kind of go to the other world and come back. Like, what if dragons just basically don't die? That's your dragons, your magic. That's fine. I don't think this game needs wounds. From what I'm seeing so far, I think it actually kind of distracts from what the game is actually about, which isn't about fighting stuff so much as about these dragons growing and changing and kind of having to combat their shadow side a bit. So that's exciting to me. Anyway, love this. This is great. Yeah, becoming your shadow self. This seems cool too. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting too. This is not necessarily a like a concrete mechanical thing. It's just sort of a script. It kind of gives you a thing to, a script to follow. It sort of gives you permission to act out in a particular way. All right, adult advancement. Every time you fill the XP bar for your age, take one advancement. Once you've taken all the advancements for your current age, move to the next age. Every time you age, cross off one moon. You can no longer call on that moon for strength. Oh, interesting. That's kind of, this is fun. I like doing stuff like this. Okay, so you're going to fill this up and then you erase it and then you fill it up again. It looks like things accelerate over time. So you spend a lot of time over here, and then we sort of age faster as time goes on in the game. Let's see, take another move, plus them to a stat, advance your signature move. Take a ritual of your house, advance your signature move. Your house dedicates a stronghold to you. Retire in safety as a mystic or ancient. And call upon these moons for strength. My guess is that the crossing off things here is what interacts with the magic of the moons mechanic, which is interesting. It's interesting that it's almost like our magic maybe becomes more reliable, but more reliable and focused over time. That's cool. That's a neat design thing. And I like that it sort of forces you to choose to cross things off. Yeah, that's straightforward. Looks fun. I like it. Okay, let's. So I'm going to go through the rest of the playbooks, and I'm guessing that's going to take less time now since I sort of have talked enough about some of the basics. So let's look at the crafter. So the crafter understands that beauty goes beyond a flashy new look. But you know how much hard work and dedication it takes to make great art. But it's important for all great crafters to remember that your trade is a dangerous practice. Many like you have fallen to their obsessions. Your friendships will keep you grounded while you pursue perfection. Cool, we have our list again. And so these ones they're cunning, but they lack charm instead of lacking courage. That makes sense. You're just hanging out a whole bunch, not working on your dragon social skills. So again, we have these, I'm thinking these are obligations, but those happen again. Design something to help a friend solve a tricky problem. Okay, at the beginning of the campaign, name a clutch mate. Okay, so here are the houses again. Let's look at the core move here. So you're known for your gifts in the draconic arts. Mark 2 mediums you've dedicated yourself to from the list below. We have a whole list of arts and crafts here. Definitely making a trip to Joanne Fabrics. Okay, when you create something in your medium, roll plus cunning. On 10 plus, pick 2, 7 through 9, pick 1. And then it's durable, functional, or attractive. These probably shouldn't be checkboxes here. I'm guessing those should probably be bullet points. On a miss, your work is fundamentally flawed. The DM will reveal how at a later time. And then you get to add mediums to it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like this move. Oh man, tattoos. I want to be giving people some dragon tattoos. Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, let's look at the other moves. Eye for detail. So this is the stat substitution template. Crafty claw. When you repair something, roll plus cunning. 10 plus, you do it. 7 through 9. Yeah, okay, so this is interesting. I've seen 2 in a row where the first move has been the stat substitution template, and then the second move has been the just act under fire template. Oh no, I thought there was an act under fire template. Oh yeah, it was the act under fire template again. Yeah. So I've already talked about why I don't like the act under fire template, or at least a danger of it. You know, generally, I think it's a good, because you're asking I assume that the DM has to do this, and I just think it's possible to lay this out in a way that's a little more clear, that gives the DM a little more support for what they're supposed to be doing. One good example of how to do that is if you look at the Savvy Head. Oh yeah, it's the workshop move for the Savvy Head. Yeah, so when you're trying to build something, the MC tells you, sure, no problem, and then do one of 4 of these things is true. What also I love about this, a lot of people are really assume that Apocalypse World moves have to involve rolling, or they're either like there's a huge diversity of them, but the templates that you see most often are like the stat substitution, or the act under fire template, or read a person template, or the what's the other one you see a bunch of? Well, anyway, you see those ones a lot, and also own the ones that are just kind of like a static, like you get a +1 to something, or those ones too. But there's other templates too that don't involve rolling at all, and they're great. I encourage you that are designing Apocalypse World, Apocalypse World hacks, to look at to include a diversity of templates, and don't make people roll and choose from a list all the time. Don't make people, don't make the MC come up with, just come up with some caveat off the top of their, like, okay, you get what you want, but there's a cost, and don't make them come up with costs off the top of their head all the time. You can get there can be a little creativity fatigue that happens. So anyway, this template there's just this huge list of really interesting costs to pick from, and this is a way of just supporting the MC to come up with those costs, so they don't have to do it off the top of their head. So yeah, that's my thoughts about that. Monument to the Moons. When you create and describe a work of art, you can call upon the moons and store the effects inside your piece. Name an event that will activate the item, and the magic will be released when it is triggered. I mean, that's awesome. That sounds great. I wonder... so one thing I'm wondering is, if these things that the dragon makes, that the crafter, what are they called? The crafter? Yeah, the crafter makes can be like magical. And this seems to tell me that, no, they're not magical unless I do this, which is kind of funny. Like in in Apocalypse World games, we don't necessarily have this really clearly defined, like I haven't seen a really clear definition of what dragons are. Like, can dragons fly? I mean, the dragons don't have wings. I mean, I assume, of course, dragons can fly, right? Can they breathe fire? I think dragons can breathe fire. Do I have armored scales that are like impervious to, different different things. And the game's not telling you that. So if it doesn't tell you that, I just assume that it means that, as players and DM, we make that stuff up together. So an interesting thing about this move is that in some way it actually kind of constrains dragon trade. Whereas if this move wasn't here, I might assume as a player or as a DM that I can make magic stuff, like I can make magical tattoos. But this one's here saying like, oh wait, no, you need this move to make magical tattoos. So that's what that tells me. Bag of potential. Oh, cool. You collect odds and ends, including bits of armament and ancient artifacts, just in case inspiration strikes. When you search your bag for something small enough to be carried, oh, you have a saddlebag? Huh, okay. Roll plus cunning. On a 10 plus, you have just the thing or close enough. So, okay. Yeah, this is like, there's a move that's similar in Apocalypse World. It's called Fucking Thieves. It's wearing. I guess I have to. So as Fucking Thieves, it's the chopper move, and that is the chopper. Yeah, when you have a gang, search their pocket plus hard. 10 plus, they have just the thing. 7 through 9, it's pretty close. So you have your own. Whoops. You just have your own gang with you if you're this dude. So bag of potential. That's fun. It's always nice to be able to come up with I have just the thing. Everybody wants to be that guy. Okay, cool. So let's see. Let's check out the next one. Daredevil. Sky's no limit. When you shoot for the stars, you achieve great things you never thought possible. Sometimes the rush can make you lose your head. Oh, you know what? I did a thing. I forgot to look at the back. Let me look at the back. So yeah, it looks like they all kind of have the same template. The shadow track's the same for both. I don't know. Maybe should it be? It might be kind of cool if these tied in specifically with what the crafter is about. More an artist than a machinist. Okay, and then this is different too. Oh, and interesting. So it looks like the shadow selves really coming out of your shadow self really requires you to interact with your friend, with a friend of yours. I wonder if that if there's a specific mechanical, someone's your friend if they have gems, like they need to have gems in order to be a friend, or otherwise they're just a clutch mate. Just a question that comes to mind. Okay, looking at the Daredevil. I'm just going to cut straight to the move now. So we've got a little intro, got a little do here. I wonder, actually, I do have one question. I'm curious if the look is different from person to person. Tail feathered, or tail prehensile, stinger, maned, none. What do we got over here? Prehensile, club, barb, none. Okay, so there's some differences and some similarities. Okay, so heading on down to the Daredevil. Let's check out your Daredevil moves. Beast Companion. Oh man, you find yourself in a precarious situation that other dragons avoid, but your beast. You find yourself in precarious situations that the dragon can avoid, but your beast companion will follow you anywhere, just like other wildlife in Dragonia. Your beast companion has aspects of many different animals. Choose up to 3. If you choose only one, other creatures of Dragonia will view your companion as a monster, but somehow you two manage. Interesting. Wow, cool. So I could have like a horse wolf or a frog sloth. Love it. The beast is large enough to ride. Okay, so now I'm seeing dragons riding. I'm seeing that my dragon could be riding a frog bat sloth. It's nuts. I love it. Tracking, burrowing, messenger, camouflage, perform, labor. Your beast can entertain dragonkin and other wildlife. Cool. It's gonna be a Pokemon. Okay, so danger is my middle name. Take +1 ongoing to acting despite danger to overcome a physical obstacle. Clear-headed. When you charge headfirst into a dangerous situation. On a hit, ask the DM one or more questions from the following list. Take +1 forward to act on the answers. Okay. Yes, this is Rita Sitch from Apocalypse World. Someone gets a jump on you before you can get your bearings. It's interesting. It's Rita Sitch, but the trigger for it is to be acting on something. Which is one thing that I'd like to point out about some of these moves is that sometimes it can be one thing. One of the challenge I think when you're writing moves for an Apocalypse World game is to make it really clear to the players and the MC when a move is triggered. And your first tool and the most potent tool you have to communicate that information is the title of your move. So this one's not important because it's a static. This is a static one. It just gives you a little bonus. Clear-headed is a little, yes, it just describes what the move's about, but the actual move trigger is right here when you charge headfirst into a dangerous situation. I would hypothesize that a stronger title for a move would be a 2 or 3 word version of this sentence right here. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Yeah, I like this move in Apocalypse World. I'm sure I would like it in this game too. Okay, let's move on. Slippery Scales. When you attempt to escape any form of entrapment, roll plus courage. 10 plus, you escape. 7-9, you slip away, but leave something important behind or attract unwanted attention. Yeah, this is very similar to Monster Heart's move called Runaway. Feels a little at odds with my idea of who the Daredevil is. Maybe not. When I first looked at it, I thought like, oh, this is going to be the fierce dragon that is going to be, you know, like doing crazy stuff, like setting things on fire. It's funny. I do have this kind of like player expectation of that one of these dragons is going to breathe fire on something. I realized that may be incorrect. So I like this. I like this playbook. My only qualm is that I would worry about a player picking. I don't feel like the picture and the text necessarily communicate what this playbook is about, whereas your signature move doesn't have anything to do with being a daredevil at all. It is that you have a beast companion. So I think this name should be something that communicates that. I see that going on in the picture here. So anyway, there's a little cognitive dissonance between what's on page 1 and then what the playbook's about. So yeah, this feels less focused than the other 2 playbooks. I like the moves. Yeah, share the load. When a fellow dragon's about to mark shadow, you can mark off shadow on your shadow track instead. So these, yeah, this playbook just feels unfocused to me. It's going in a few different directions, and yeah, that's how I feel about it. I like the directions. I would just like it if everything was really focused on this kind of, you know, stuff about your companion, stuff about you dealing with other animals. This seems like a golden, like one of the things that the game, one of the MC moves is in the wilderness is to introduce a fantastical creature. This seems like the playbook that should be helping the MC out there, that should be able to interact with those fantastical creatures, make up things about them, you know, convince them to help you out, do battle with them, tame them. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do. But maybe that's somewhere else. Let's check it out. Okay, let's look at the dark side really quickly. Just yeah, so shadow track, shadow self. Let's kind of, it seems like maybe the shadow shelf should interact with your beast somehow. Like maybe your beast goes crazy too. Just a thought. Cool. So the Daredevil, I love this. This is awesome. This is like exactly what I want to be doing when I'm making a character, is this kind of stuff. It seems like a lot of fun. Whoa, oh my goodness. Okay. Let me go back to screen share. Okay, nature's adept. Yeah, okay, see, this is what I would expect the Beastmaster's title to look like, or the last playbook. You know, that this move here, Beast Companion, feels like it really fits with this template, or this, you know, that the picture and the text there, or the picture, yeah, the picture and the title. Okay, wild speech. You share the world of beasts and creatures. You share the world with beasts and creatures of the wild. The calls of these creatures are a second language to you. You can understand and communicate with any animal in a basic tongue of the land, allowing you to study them, insist they accept your help, and mislead or trick them as if they were dragons. Okay, cool. So that's cool. Yeah, because there's that limitation. Remember, there's that limitation in the basic moves for those three that you can't use those except on dragons. Okay, and then to advance it, when you advance it, you get an additional signature move. Master of Two Worlds. Yeah, okay, this is a, so we have, you know, we've got a stat substitution. Spirit guide. You've attracted the land, the attention of the land itself. Small spirit guide follows you wherever you go, offering aid and counsel. That's cute. I love it. Interesting. So these, yeah, so I can, this is kind of an engine to get bonuses and +1 for it. I'm not excited about rolling this move, and the reason for that is that if I succeed, I get experience and a bonus to my next roll. On a 7 through 9, I'm giving the MC an opportunity to tell me to do something, and I'm losing a gem if I don't do it. And you know, on a miss, it's pretty bad. I sort of like lose the effectiveness of my move. I would not choose this move because of the. Okay, well, one, it's mechanical. The move is mechanical in its outcomes, and it's not in my favor. Like, so if I'm really like gaming it, if I'm really in my gamer mindset and I'm trying to win, which is what I'm always doing whenever I see a mechanical move, I'm like, does this move help me win? It doesn't seem like a good deal to me, given that, you know, 25% of the time I'm going to lose my move, that I make this move, or you know, whatever, depending on how high my charm is. So there's that. I would love it if I got to create a cool spirit guide. You know, like, what is this the spirit of? You know, maybe there's like a list of cool things that this is the spirit of, and if the move helps me to interact with them in interesting fictional ways, that would be a more exciting move to me. Okay, but I love the first part of this is great. I might just take the move just because, and I imagine that people will take this move just because they want some small spirit to follow them around, and then just don't ever ask your spirit guide for advice, otherwise you might lose it. Okay, smokescreen. When you keep still in natural surroundings, you are nearly invisible. Enemies cannot spot you until you move or speak. Rad, great. Yeah, I love stuff that's just like a little fictional. These are great. I think that little moves like this are where there's just a fictional, like, you can talk to animals, you know, or like you've got a pet dog, like stuff like that is, it's really nice to have. Players get the moves really easily, even if they aren't used to Apocalypse World system, and they, yeah, they're great. Tie right into the fiction. Don't need no mechanics. Beast of the Land. When you survey an ancient or arcane area on a 10+, ask 3 instead of 2. On 7 through 9, ask 2 instead of 1. Okay, so otherwise you get 1. This wording's a little confusing to me, but I get it. Add these questions to your list of options. Oh, because it's referring to the other move. So you could just say, when you survey an ancient or arcane area, ask an additional question. You could just say that. And then add these questions to your list of options. How can I nurture this place? What does this place want from us? Well, last visited this place. Cool. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I wonder if these are the best questions. But I like the idea of it, and I'd have to play it a little bit to see how useful these questions end up being in play. Okie dokie. Great. Let's check out the seer. Oh man, I hope I get to tell the future and make up weird dooms for other people. The darkness spoke to you at an early age. You see the approaching horror and work to fight against it. Yet others don't always trust or believe you. You've grown close to the darkness to learn its secrets, but do not forget your allies. Your friendships are the light that keeps you from falling to the darkness. Whoa, went too far. On hit, you've seen a vision of the darkness that will aid your clutch's efforts. Learn something useful or interesting about the tasks at hand. On a 10 plus, you've seen the true face of the darkness. Ask the MC a follow-up question as well. On a miss, your vision is too dark to aid you. The future it foretells is grim and painful. Okay, and then when you advance it, you get to share the vision with a clutchmate, prepare your ask an additional question. You get to tell the MC what your vision is going to be about, or add +1 forward to alter what you have seen. The +1 forward ones aren't very exciting to me, but I really like asking an extra question, and I really like getting to guide what my vision is about. And I should just point out, I have a sort of a bias against just mechanic stuff. If you watched the last video, you sort of noticed, you probably noticed. I like it. I just don't like it when there's a lot. I like some of them. Okay, then we have like, stat substitution. These are fine. I feel like they're less interesting to me than, moves like smokescreen. Like I'm just get to be ones that give you like a really like concrete, special dragony power. And that's what we're here for, right? We want to be sweet dragons and talk about our relationships with each other. And Worm Tongue. Return a gem and ask the darkness for something you need. The DM will tell you what it costs if you pay the price of it. This is great. Hell yeah. I also really like returning gems. Man, so this is the thing about strings and Monster Hearts too. There's been a lot of discussion about this online, but I would love it if returning a gem or gaining a gem had a really specific fictional connection. Like in order to return a gem, I have to do something that hurts my relationship with somebody, like forget their birthday or something like that. And that's the price that the darkness is asking for. It's like, you have to, just don't go to your clutchmate's birthday party, and then the darkness will, do some cool thing for you. But I like this move, Worm Tongue. Cool. Why is this Worm Tongue? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why that name is that. I guess this is maybe referring to, think of Worm Tongue from Lord of the Rings. But yeah, this doesn't communicate to me what this move is about. Secret Catcher. Add the following options to study another dragon. What secrets should be are maybe? What secrets are your character hiding? I'm not sure. My English is weak. What has the darkness offered to you in your moments of weakness? This is hard. This is gonna be hard for somebody to answer. This is what I call a twofer. You're asking somebody to make 2 creative leaps at once. So when you have a question with a strong premise, you're actually asking someone two questions, and that's kind of hard. If I don't already know, first I have to figure out what my moment of weakness was, and then I have to figure out what the darkness offered me. And that's hard to do. It's hard for players to do in a game. There'll be times when there'll be something that's perfect, but there's going to be a lot of times when you're going to do this to somebody and it's going to take them like 2 or 3 minutes to be able to come up with something interesting that works well with the story. So yeah, be careful about that. How do you think we are alike? I would like something like, what do you really think of me? Would be what that'd be kind of what I'd be a little more, I think that'd be a little easier to answer. But that's fine too. You know, some of this is just personal preference. Okay. Well, when you consume a piece of the darkness, roll plus charm. On a hit, the darkness gives you visions and answers your questions. So this is related to, you know, opening your brain and gazing into the abyss. So yeah, and I think that move in general, you know, works pretty well in those games. Sometimes it's kind of interesting because it's a okay, well, I'll talk about this move in a second. One thing I want to, well, okay, no, I'll talk about it right now. So gazing into the abyss in Monster Hearts is, you know, as written, sometimes it can be a little, like, I think sometimes it's good to have the question, have there be some kind of question that somebody's looking for before you roll the move, and that makes it a little easier to do the rest, because like on a hit, the darkness gives you visions and answers your questions. But if I haven't asked any questions yet, and we're already resolving this move, it might be a little confusing. So that's one thing that's one feeling I have about this. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So one. Okay. I was just thinking of so one thing I was thinking of the Sethkona in the Sethkona in Sagas of the Icelanders has this power to see the future and kind of predict things that are going to happen to other characters. And I think that while it's interesting to have visions of the darkness, I would like it if there was some tie-in back to the players. There sometimes, I don't know if you've ever played a game of Apocalypse World or a game of Monster Hearts with the Chosen, but there can be this sometimes there can be this problem where it kind of turns into a weird Scooby-Doo episode that nobody knows the answer to, where you sort of, okay, there's this big thing that we're like fighting against, but we don't really know how we're going to fight against it, and the MC doesn't really know what's going on, and the players don't really know what's going on, and so we all kind of like stumble around it. And especially in a one-shot, it can be a little confusing. And if you want to have like there be some big evil like the darkness, I guess my concern is that there might not be enough support in the MC materials and in the playbooks that are going to really like create something that feels really concrete, or that feels like, that's really engaging. So that's one thought. That's one like concern that I have. Yeah, that's what I have to say about the darkness and the seer. Oh yeah, I guess, and the other thing was that it would be nice if there's something here to tie it back into the players a little bit, because that's one thing, the players have all created their characters and they're all going to be really invested in those characters. And so if these visions, like if you have some vision about, the darkness swallowing up some part of Dragonia, a horde of of inky squirrels coming down from the forest. I don't know, whatever the darkness ends up being in your game. That's one thing. But if I have some vision of the darkness tainting the dreams of, some member of my clutch mate and like stealing his dreams or something like that, we're all going to care about that a lot more because it's really personal. So yeah, that's what I think about that. Okay, and this is the last one. This is the warrior. Noble and strong, Dragonia is your home, and you fight to defend it. You are an inspiration to your fellow dragons, but don't try to take on too much by yourself. Your friends are strong and capable. Give them the chance, and they will surprise you. Okay, scales of honor. You've dedicated your life to the betterment of Dragonia. Choose one boon. So you either get +1 to call upon moons. You get +1. You get +1 this thing, +1, +1. Okay, so these are all like a mechanical thing. Which, I don't really like so much. It's just not exciting to me, and I feel like it doesn't give me interesting things to talk about. But, so anyway, though I am interested in telling you what my mark of lunar authority is, or my voice that penetrates the darkness, or my commanding lineage. An heirloom for the, like, I like the fictional stuff is all really exciting to me. I wonder if that would feel stronger if it didn't have the mechanical thing. Like if it just said either have a mark of lunar authority, a voice that penetrates the darkness. It's funny, I actually like get more excited about moves like this if you just take away the mechanical component. And then I just fictionally have a large and valuable hoard. I don't have to, because sometimes it feels like reductive when you tack on this thing at the end, like, so your large and valuable hoard means that in the game you get +1 on going to give into darkness, and then no further thought about it. Whereas if I just have a large and valuable hoard, I'm going to be like tapping that all game long. I'm going to be like, well, I just go into my large and valuable hoard and pull out a pile of gilded acorns, and that's what I use to bribe the squirrels of darkness, something like that. Anywho, yeah, I don't think this needs the mechanical stuff. I think it's distracting. It makes the move less cool. But I like this stuff. I like this stuff a lot. Voice that penetrates the darkness. Hell yeah. Okay. Battle plan. When you face an enemy in combat, roll + courage. Who's most vulnerable? What's my enemy's true position? What's my big... Okay, interesting. Similar to Seize by Force, to be like a core warrior move. Whereas Seize by Force pulls us through the conflict towards the end, because otherwise we're going to be using this game's equivalent of Act Under Fire to resolve conflict, and that's okay, but it doesn't get us through the conflict to the next interesting fictional thing the way that Seize by Force does, where it just takes you to the end of like, okay, what was it you're trying to do? Let's just skip past the roll after roll after roll of like, okay, now you try and I do a cartwheel and breathe fire backwards on the flotilla of shadow squirrels, and Act Under Fire, and then you just it can just make things can really drag on. Get it? Okay, let's see. Let's continue here. Dragonheart. You're a true friend to your clutch mates. You may give gems to characters that act according to either of your virtues. Could we do that anyway? I can't remember. This is similar to one of the basic moves. This is interesting. This is actually almost like a little bit of a leadership thing where you get to reward other players for being either daring. Oh, it's interesting. Daring or humor. I'm surprised that this is one of the virtue choices. It seems like it should be something warrior-y. So anyway, Tail Whip. Once per session, redirect a wound you suffer to a nearby enemy. Let's see, I talked about how I felt about wounds already. Lies do not become us. When you speak frankly with a character, you can ask their player a question from this list. They answer truthfully. They may then ask you a question from the list. You must answer truthfully. Whom do you really serve? What do you most desire? What do you most regret? who you have wronged. Yeah, that seems cool. I'm into it. I like honesty. Cuts through. It's nice when there's some mechanical support to help us get through those sort of weird negotiation role-playing sessions. Like like conflict. It's one thing that, like when there's actual player, like sometimes there's a character conflict that's sort of backed up by this player conflict, and like the player conflict will be that we both have different ideas of what we want to happen in the scene. Like I'm an MC, and who's kind of a player too. I'm an MC, and my NPC has a particular agenda, and then you're a player and you have a particular agenda, and we're negotiating, but neither of us really wants to give ground. It's nice when there's a move that just cuts through that and is like, okay, it arbitrates it for us, and this helps that. This definitely helps that out. Cool. Okay, great. So that concludes my read through of. That's the last of these playbooks. I'm done reading through them. Yeah, what'd you think? I'd be interested. We can let me know if you in the comments. We can talk about it a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this game continues to develop and to get it on the table. So yeah, thanks so much everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.